Hey everybody, I am doing my live. It's been a few days and I'm in the hallway of the new barn, and man, it has been a very eventful past few days. But I know that people have a lot of questions about what we experienced this weekend, and I wanted to come on here and talk to you directly. And just be present with you in this beautiful place. So if you're just joining us for the first time, hey Kim, we are Bramblewood Stables, and we learned a little less than 2 months ago that we needed to find a new location. We were losing our lease of 20 years, and we're a public riding facility. And we also do a lot of groundwork, a lot of mindfulness and connection with the horses and with humans. And so that was our worst fear. That was my worst fear. And we went overdrive, and we are going to start bumping up our fundraising efforts now that we've landed. We went overdrive to secure a new farm so we could continue our work and continue our mission. And we found one. We could not have found a more perfect farm. And we closed on it a week ago Monday, and we have been going crazy moving. It's myself, my dad and mother live with me, my husband. So basically 3 households and 16 horses to move and get settled. And there was a lot of things that we need to do. There's a lot of repairs that we need to make to the fencing here at the new farm. And we spent last week moving, and our army of people who came together have been astounding. Just moving all the things that we need to have a flourishing farm, and also an entire household filled with many people. So I cannot thank everyone enough. Michelle Higdon really went crazy, organizing, taking so much off of my plate, and allowing us to move forward with spreadsheets, databases, times, all these things. Hey, everyone. So my plan had been originally, I know I had lots of amazing friends in the horse community that had reached out offering to help us trailer the horses to the new farm. And I sat with that for a while. A lot of these horses hadn't been off the property in 20 years. We did a lot of trailer practice, getting on and off, knowing that we were preparing for this move. But the plan last week was we work our butts off, we get everything moved over, and then we bring the horses over on Sunday, which happened, but not how we would have ever imagined this would have happened. Instead of making multiple trips with smaller 2-horse and 3-horse trailers, my own trailer had not been hauling, it hadn't hauled anything in 7 years. And Christopher and a buddy from work, they're airplane mechanics, had put in a gooseneck hitch into black trucks, so that we did have that trailer as backup, but I didn't feel safe with it, because even though it is maintained, I was like, I just don't feel safe. We haven't trailered enough with this horse. We haven't trailered, or with this trailer. We haven't trailered enough in the past few years. We haven't tested this hitch. So I hired someone that has hauled for us a lot in the past, and someone that I deeply trusted. And I thought, we'll just make this trip in larger, we'll take over more horses at a time, and so we're not going to stress them out as badly. And that was my plan. And we'll get a professional to do this. But everything went well. There were 7 horses loaded, and what I didn't know was that the horses were being loaded onto a trailer that had not been used for hauling yet. And the floor was not stable. And thank God Tammy Hammer was following behind the trailer. And and I got to North Pleasantburg by Dipple Plumbing and Krispy Kreme. And at that point, Tammy realized that something horrible had happened, and she watched it happen. And she got the driver to pull over quickly, and I received calls then. I was at the new location waiting for the horses to arrive. We had a ton of volunteers, a lot of people even coming from out of state to help us. And so I received a call from the driver that something was up and that I needed to come up with a plan how to get them out of it. And I was stumped. And I think I'm just now coming out of shock. I know that our people who either attended at the scene or were a part of loading the horses at the barn, I know that what they experienced is a trauma that nobody should ever have to experience. And our number one goal was to bring all of the horses here safely and to keep them keep the herd intact, for us to keep the horses together. So at the very back of that trailer, Sheba fell through the floor, and she sustained pretty horrific injuries. It was obvious, anybody who would have looked at her at this time, and unfortunately so many of my beloveds saw it, that she was not going to be able to survive. And so I was going blind. I called Lakin. I knew Lakin was going to be helping us that day. I didn't realize that she was on the phone with Michelle, who was talking to her about having just loaded up the horses, and they were headed to the new barn. And Michelle immediately turned and went back to the scene. There's Michelle right now. I'm doing a live. I'm giving people details. I think we've said the story enough between each other today. Okay, thank you. So I called Dr. Kate, who is a genius. And what she did on Sunday she put herself in grave danger to give Sheba relief, because there were 6 other horses on the trailer. Sheba was down at the back of the trailer. The horses couldn't come off until the situation was resolved with Sheba. So Dr. Kate immediately called the city. She called Dipple Plumbing. She knew she was walking into something traumatic, but she made sure that all of those boxes were checked. And she also started gathering up an army of people, people who could haul the horses off of the, once we got them off the trailer. Because there were so many different concerns. We had a horrific scene at the back of a horse trailer on an incredibly busy road, with a whole bunch of horses that were deeply close to this horse that is in deep distress, all on the trailer. Eventually those horses have to come off. So Dr. Kate arrived on the scene, and she had her 3-horse trailer already ready to go. She already got in touch with the people who she knows that can move bodies and do hauling. And she had all of those things lined up. And I was just in utter shock. I asked her if I should come on the scene. She told me I shouldn't. I hate that my people had to be there. I hate that they have that vision in their head still. So Dr. Kate put herself in, exactly, Tammy. And she just put herself in the line of fire. She knew that Sheba had to be euthanized before she could be taken off the trailer. And, she went to work doing it. And she did that with Penny literally standing over Sheba. So Penny and Sheba are a deeply bonded pair. And Penny protected her through all of it. And I've watched Penny now that she is she's safely landed here. And yes, Sheba was euthanized thanks to the amazing action of Dr. Kate. She was removed from the trailer, which was incredibly hard. Like, it could not have been done without deeply skilled people. Lakin and her army of haulers, she was on the scene. Everybody got into action, and then it was like, you know, on my end, this caravan of angels starts pulling in 2-horse trailers, 3-horse trailers, without me having to do anything. Everyone decided they're going to go ahead and just keep going until they've moved the entire herd. And then we got everybody here safely, except for Sheba. And Sheba was taken to a beautiful field and buried there. Wanda Lowe, which was one of the hardest phone calls I've ever made, having to call her and say that Sheba was down on the side of the road. Wanda went, and even after everyone had left, as they were waiting for the people to come remove Sheba's body, Wanda stayed with her. And yeah, Tammy saying Penny was amazing, not stepping on her and looking down at Sheba where she was at. And for such a long period of time, I mean, even with the quickest action, it was like an hour before anybody could get to them. And that the horses were able to cope, that they were able to pass that spot safely in the trailer to get off. It was the only way they could get off. There has been a lot of heartache in my life. There's been a massive amount this year. And I thought that losing the farm and us having to land somewhere else was the worst part of it. And it wasn't, by far. Sheba was a hard horse for me. Heart. She's a hard horse. She's a heart horse for me. Sheba came to me very traumatized, and she showed me in a way into the deeper work with horses and humans in a way that no other horse has. She has taken care of me. She's taken care of so many people I know, and she's shown me deeper wisdom. And I have no doubt that her spirit is continuing to guide us. And that her wisdom will continue to guide us. I think that all of us are deeply hurting, deeply grieving, still in shock, still processing. I'm going to get Michelle to come over here and talk to you guys because she was there for every second of it. And yeah, if you guys have questions, send me, like, it's good for us to talk about it. This truly has been my worst fear. And when I called my ex-husband trying to get trailers, when he figured out what was happening, he was like, oh my gosh, our worst fear. I mean, Moran's a horseman too. Our worst fear has happened now. He's like, you know, I'm sorry it was you, but you know, it's like you've broken the seal. Like, the worst fear has happened. But yeah, I'm going to trade places with Michelle, and I'm going to have her talk to you a little bit about what she experienced.
We got the gate prop. It needs another little chain on each side because the bolt's gone.
Oh, okay.
But it is chained on either side.
Okay, perfect.
Hello. Yeah, so I'm sure Kim has kind of, you know, told you what happened. I will say for myself, I got there about 15 minutes after the incident because I had helped load over at Bramblewood, and then we got out of Bramblewood a lot faster than we thought we would. So I was booking it over to Lavender Hill to make sure there were people here to unload the ponies, because that was going to be the hardest part, you know, was getting them off the trailer. And so it was, you know, so I got there, I was on the phone with various people, had no idea what was happening. I thought there was an accident. I was panicking that Faith was gone, all this kind of stuff. Called my mom. I called all my prayer warriors. I was like, I don't know what's happening, but y'all gotta pray. And so we get there, and she's down in the trailer. And all the hardest part, like I know Tammy and I said, because Tammy was there the whole time, we said, Lakin said, the hardest part was we could not get on that trailer to be with her. But I could stand at the back and bawl my eyes out the whole time and tell her she was okay, even though she was not. But the point was we had to keep her calm, because we knew that if she panicked, Penny was going to panic, and everybody was being so dang good. Like, it is, if you want proof that what we do at Bramblewood works, check out the Dipple Plumbing parking lot Sunday morning, because those horses know how to be calm. And I also think, well, the Lord, I firmly believe the Lord put his protection. I don't know why this keeps telling me Tammy's watching like 17 times there, but I'm so glad you are.
I know.
I'm like, Tammy's watching. Thanks, Tammy. Yeah. The Lord had, that's all I can say. He had his protection on everyone else in that trailer. We only had one little dude that tried to stop and be like, "Ooh, horses." And they were like, "Nah, man, you gotta go." And so that was good. But I mean, Penny, I'll tell you, there's a lot that I'm never going to unsee, and a lot that is still playing through my mind every day. I cried at school this morning because I wore the wrong staff t-shirt. And I went home and changed, because I'm walking through school and like, they told me it was fine, but there's a lot going on up here anyway. And this is just, I'm on the brink like every day now. And so I was in a dark blue shirt, Taylor's shirt. It was a Taylor shirt, but everybody else was in the actual correct Taylor staff shirt. And so I was like starting to cry, and I was like, I'm not going to make it. I got to go change. So then I got sweaty, and then my fan was dead. So that was a struggle, but it's going to take a while. I mean, I may not get over this for a long time. I'm sure Tammy won't, Brandon won't, everything, but I am trying to focus on the positive of the moments that we saw that showed us the reason we partner with horses, and the reason that Bramblewood is here, and the reason that we all do this. Sheba, when she fell in that trailer, she was laid out on the floor of that trailer with other horses who now had nowhere to go. And they all stood there for an hour. And I stood there for an hour. And Tammy stood there, and Lakin, and Billy, and everybody, and told her she was okay. And her head was under Penny, and Penny never moved. Penny's feet were, and if this makes you cry, I have bawled my eyes out for the last 3 days. So I'm with you. But Penny did not move. And towards the end, Sheba would try to get up, and her leg would flail around, and her head would come up, and she would bite at her chest. And then towards the end, I think Penny was like, "Ma'am, you got to stay down, and you got to stay calm." Because she would, when Sheba would like pick her head up a little bit, Penny pin her ears back and put her head down to her and be like, "Ma'am."
And a lot of people have asked us for the details, but Penny had a compound fracture on her front leg, so the bone was literally in half.
You mean Sheba?
Sorry, Sheba. Sorry, Penny.
I was about to be like, what did I miss?
Fine.
Penny is fine. Penny's fine, everybody.
Yeah, so Sheba had a compound fracture. Bone was literally in half through the skin. And from her other front hoof had been worn down to the lamina. So it was worn down completely from the asphalt. And her hind legs were wrapped around the center bar underneath the trailer. And I'm sure both of them were broken. And she was alive. And that's where for everybody who experienced it, it would have been horrible. But I wish that she had had an instantaneous death. But barring that blessing of an instantaneous death, she had this massive team of angels around her who went to work and put themselves at considerable risk to get her relief, and then to get her out and to take care of the other horses.
Yeah. And so, Penny never moved. Faith would rest her head on Penny's back. And if you know Penny don't allow that. Penny is a no contact with other equines kind of girl. But Faith would rest her head on Penny's back, and Penny would kind of sigh. And Mocha was calm, and Magic was calm. And Julian, friends. If you know Julian the squirrel fawn, like if you know him, he was the one that, like, if I'd had to peg somebody to just get injured, like cut on this trail ride, it was going to be the squirrel fawn. But he was fine. He chewed on the side of the trailer. I said, "Enjoy." I said, your teeth are fine. get yourself some trailer. Moose was just from, I mean, the number of the horses on that trailer were there on that trailer. I mean, if anything was going to happen, that was the right collection to have on that trailer because they held each other up. And then I think it was either serendipity or just the Lord prepping Kim for who was going where when we got here. All of those horses are together in a field. And so they are, like Kim's been texting me, Moose is looking out for Penny.
Yeah.
Faith is looking out for Penny. Everybody kind of knows Penny needs them right now.
And I've watched Penny process, and I think Dr. Kate, because in my shock and grief, I didn't know what to do for Penny, and she did get some cuts on her leg. She did have some swelling. Otherwise, she was fine, which is a miracle. But that night, Moose was watching over Penny in the deepest way, and it was absolutely what she was doing. If any horse would get close to her, Penny would push, or excuse me, Moose would push them away from Penny. And this happened over and over. And Moose would just like gently say, give her space, give her space. And Dr. Kate had told me, this horse has so much trauma that she's going to have to process. And I've watched that. And so last night before last was the first night, I watched her process. And last night she kind of shook, and Moose had stopped guarding her. And then Penny just started yawning and yawning and yawning and yawning. And today her energy is so different. She let it go. But I've watched, and this blessing of getting to Lavender Hill, I've watched how the herd took care of each other and the dynamics within it. But it's crazy. I didn't plan for all of those horses to be in the same field. That was not a plan. Yeah.
So that's what needed to happen. And it's just, right at the end, so Dr. Kate got there. Dr. Kate got on the trailer. And of course you're not going to save her. We're waiting for her to get put out of her misery because, like Kim said, it would have been better if she had just immediately, because, I'm watching her for an hour try to get up or spin her head around. And I'm, you're okay. It's going to be okay. You're fine. You're a good girl. I was telling her about, to remember when you were at Boo at the Barn last year, and I'm like sobbing and trying to tell her this story she doesn't care about, but like, whatever. I'm trying to keep her calm, and I'm enjoying, I'm like, remember when you were supposed to be a skeleton and they got tired of drawing bones 10 minutes in, and then you just became a heart print or a hand print? And it's like, and talking about, remember all the respites you've done and ground and just talking. And at the end, I was able to squeeze into the trailer enough to put my hand on her flank as she was euthanized and just kind of be there with her, before I completely lost it and had to walk away. But, there were parts of getting her off the trailer that were hard that I could not watch. And Lakin was right there in it, and Tammy was in it, and I am amazed at the resilience of those ladies for being able to. I saw parts I didn't want to see, and I will never unsee, but it was you got to get her off this trailer because we got to get these other horses off, and we couldn't get them off until she was off, and so we're able to get her off, and then we were able to get the other horses off, and these are horses who had not loaded easily at Bramblewood, but they got right on the other trailers, and it was, and it's like it hits you in parts where it's an innocuous statement or it's a valid question, and the answer, like Dr. Kate was holding Penny, and we had brought Penny and Faith over to Dr. Kate's trailer to get them on. Faith is a brilliant loader. She just is weird about getting off because homegirl does not believe that backing up is part of her repertoire. But she got right on the trailer because Penny was like, nah, man, I'm not. And Dr. Kate was so compassionate as she is because we know this. So it did happen Sunday at about 8:30. In the morning. But, Dr. Kate was like, we'll give them all the time they need. And we're like, yeah, like we're standing on the side of North Pleasantburg, but there was a guy blocking the traffic coming across and nobody could come where we were. And you could still go down, obviously, because we can't shut down 6 lanes of traffic. I would have, totally. But, Penny was like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm not getting on this trailer. And we, we gave her time. She had a little bit of sedation, because, she was like, Sheba was right underneath her. So when it came time to move Sheba, we gave her a little bit, or Dr. Kate did. And then Dr. Kate gave her a little more. So Faith's on the trailer. Penny's like, I'm not doing it. And Dr. Kate, cause she doesn't, she's just a vet, she's sweet, compassionate. She looks at me and she goes, does she have another friend? And I mean, yeah, it's Sheba. And so that hit me like, it just comes out of, yeah, it was Sheba, and she's not here. And so
And the fact that these horses were having to walk through dripping blood to get off is not something that horses just do. They understood the mission.
Yeah. And so then I think there was a straight load, and one of the other horses was on it, and Penny got right on next to them. And then Magic, Moose, and Mocha, everybody loaded up, and they came here. And they've really kind of just settled. I mean, we're all processing. It is what it is. It sucks. No, so Sheba, from what we can tell, what caused her to go down is the boards on the bottom of the trailer slid, and she lost her footing. And so luckily it was bad. Like, let's be straight up, it was bad. But I have to keep saying that, because in order to keep my mental health and be able to keep myself strong, it could have been worse. It was not a wreck. It was not, again, if Penny had gone down, then they're all going down.
And Tammy was following and saw
Tammy
the
was
moment
following,
it happened.
And I was able to get there quick, and then Lakin was able to get a trailer and get there quick. And I mean, the vet, you can't expect her to be there in 15 minutes, so she got there quick. Like, it all, and
a huge shout out to Robin and her husband. They're both law enforcement, and their ability to manage the situation and to work with everyone. And I've told Wanda this, when Wanda was left alone with Sheba on the side of the road, covered in a tarp, Wanda lost her heart horse in June, and Sheba was one that really kind of picked up for her on the other side. But everybody left, and Wanda was left alone. And I learned that Robin drove to the Krispy Kreme parking lot and watched Wanda so that she wouldn't be alone. Those acts of grace sustain me. In the most horrific situation, I have seen in this situation the very best and also the very worst of people. And there's more good than there is bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
it's only up from here.
Knocking wood.
Well, yeah.
Knocking wood.
Yeah. But yeah.
But I want to say, we've had a lot, we've endured. We are very vocal about the truth of what we live. We don't sugarcoat things, and we are very honest. But the number of people that have sent me messages saying, wow, your luck sucks, is not what you want to hear when someone's grieving. Because I was talking to Tamar this morning. I hadn't had a chance to talk to my bestie to tell her what had happened. And so I talked to her, and I was saying, this and this and this and this and this. And she was like, look, this idea of there being like a universal balance sheet, and if you do this, then this happens, and horrible things don't happen. She's like, that is such a white person concept. Will you stop it? And I just cracked up. I was like, I'm guilty. Like, I am always guilty. And the number one thing is, I want all of my beloveds, I don't want them to carry this guilt, because it is not their fault.
It's not yours either. And our brains know that, but our brains haven't accepted it yet.
No. But we're getting there.
We will.
And we're getting there together.
We are.
And I am so thankful for everyone who showed up. I'm so thankful for that it wasn't worse. Yeah. And I'm so thankful to have landed in the most beautiful farm, with the most beautiful fields, with the most beautiful grounding energy. If there's any place to hold you in a crisis, it's like the bones of this farm have been holding us up. Mm-hmm. And also the horses, hugely. But put your questions in the comments. We're going to go do more unpacking things and lesson things and
Horsey
things. And for everybody who has supported us, followed us, and continues to, we do still need help on the GoFundMe. I don't want to like put a shameless plug for fundraising here,
but shameless plug,
especially now.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that everybody that was involved with this was is deeply compensated for their work. I love you all.
And Bramble Buddies on Friday.
Well, we have Bramble Buddies on Friday in the most beautiful new
Yes,
location.
we do.
And Michelle has amazing things planned.
Yes, I do. They'll be planned by Friday. But sign up.
Yeah. So I love you guys. Ask your questions away. It's good to talk about this because I don't want it just in my head, and I know everybody else doesn't just want it in their heads either. Sheba, may she rest in peace, was a glorious mare, and she taught me how to love my girlness. She taught me how to, in the worst parts of my hormonal outrage, and just my body being torn apart before my hysterectomy, she taught me to be okay with those parts of my femaleness that got in the way. And I am forever grateful for her for that. Alrighty. I love you guys, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Tammy's what, like 40?
I love Tammy.